Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So, looking at those handicap marks, I've highlighted on the Twitter thread above the horses that I like, but this is a little bit more information about those. So, starting off with Aidil, who has dropped another couple of pound. He's down to 125 now from 127. And I think he is very well handicapped now. We've got to remember some of his form last season was pretty good, including when winning the Scottish, is it the county hurdle? Scottish county hurdle at Musselburgh. That came off a mark of 124. Well, he's now 125. He'd also finished third in the Hogmanay hurdle off 125. He finished fifth at Cheltenham in the county hurdle behind Absurd, only beaten 4.5 lengths off 130. Third at Aintree off 130. Fourth in the Scottish Champion Hurdle off 130. 125 definitely looks like a mark that he can be competitive of. Now, we liked him at the weekend at Ascot and he ran okay. He finished fourth. Typically, for a big prize selection, if you did back him each way, he finished just outside the placings. Now, maybe he just took a couple of runs to get going last season. If we look back through his form, we go to last season. He ran out in October at Cheltenham. He finished 7th, well beaten by, interestingly, our champ. He was in a race that he got beat by our champ. Then he went to the Great Red Hurdle and he pulled up. Now, they were his first 2 runs of the season. And then it started to get going. He finished third, first, fifth, third, fourth. They were all very good runs. Now, maybe he just needed those 2 runs, and maybe he needs those 2 runs again to get him going. Paul Nicholls, obviously, his horses aren't quite in form, and maybe they're still not, even with those having a run, they're needing more than that. And maybe next time out is where we want to catch Aidil. Where do you go with Aidil? Well, I think you keep it simple with him. You come back to Ascot for this race. Where is it? It's this 2-mile handicap hurdle, Garden for All Seasons handicap hurdle for horses rated 0 to 140. He's rated 125. We know he's got good Ascot form. He's now got a 2nd and a 4th. He didn't run badly. You keep it simple. You keep him at Ascot and go again next time. And maybe, as I said, with that extra run under his belt, he'll be a little bit fitter again, and he can start getting really close to winning races. The next horse I want to talk about is Arou, who has dropped £2 from 118 down to 116. And he's another that looks well handicapped on his best form last season, including when finishing 3rd in February at Ascot behind Mott Hill. He wasn't beaten far, 4.25 lengths. 3rd at Kempton before that behind Rare Edition. And he's also got a couple of good runs at Sandown. In November, he won a handicap off a mark of 114. He's 116 now. And he also went to Sandown again on heavy going, which I think probably stopped him that day. He finished 5th, well beaten. I don't think he wants the heavy going, but I do think he wants the 2-mile trip. Now, he's actually in a race on Sunday at Sandown, over 2.5. I don't totally get that, unless they want to drop him another couple of pounds. He doesn't want 2.5. He wants 2 miles on that soft ground. And if they don't waste him by running at over 2.5 mile, and they do go for 2 mile at Sandown, I think there's a race for him at, where is it? Just wait for this to load again. I should have loaded these before. It's on the 7th of December. There is this Betfair Plays Different handicap hurdle. He'd be right near the bottom of the weights, being that it's a 0 to 150. He's rated 1 to 118, is it? So he'd be right at the very bottom. 116, he'd be right at the very bottom. But run him there, because he does have some good form at Sandown. I mean, this race here behind Under Control and Iberico Lord over 2 mile, that's a massive performance, isn't it? A reproduction of that. And he would probably go very close in this race at Sandown, even off a very, very low weight. I don't think he wants 2.5 mile, and that's the key for Arou for me. Drop him back to 2 mile. And I think he can go run a competitive race at a course that he probably likes. Maybe Ascot, maybe Sandown. The next horse I want to talk about is ridiculously well handicapped, potentially, on his best form. This season, this year, in March, at the Cheltenham Festival, he went off 7 to 1 for the Temps final. off 142. He's now rated 115, a £27 higher mark for what? 8 months. £27 in 8 months. That must be one of the biggest and quickest drops I've ever seen. He just needs a race that suits. He needs a course that suits. Where would I go with him? Well, he's actually ran well before in a Attempts qualifier. He finished third behind Gentleman at Arms and I Will Do It. As you can see, he traded 6-4 in the run. He only went off 100-30 or just over 7-2 on the exchanges. That didn't come that long ago. That was in November of last year. So this time last year, he finished third at Aintree in a novice Attempts qualifier off a mark of 142. Dropping back to 2.5 mile, I think, is key. I don't think he quite stays to 3 mile. Go to a track that he runs well at. Well, there's this, not this one, sorry. It is, where is it? Which one is it? This one here. It's a Class 2 handicap hurdle, over 2.5 at Aintree, off a ridiculously low mark on the 7th of December. If he's going to bounce back anywhere in the UK, surely that's it. This is the race for him. You've got to be going here. And it could well be that he turns up here, he gets absolutely smashed off the boards, and goes and runs a really nice race. We've got to remember, in November of 2023, when he was running here, he went off favourite of 142. He could run in a similar race off 115. Got to go for that race at Aintree, in my opinion. It looks obvious. Next horse I want to talk about is a little bit, some people go, no, he can't win. That's brave man's game. Now, sometimes when you get a horse that starts getting beat or goes off a short price and gets beat, people react, they overreact and they go, oh, he's never going to win a race, he's rubbish. He's not rubbish. He finished second in a Charlie Hall, a grade 2. Now, I'd love to own a horse that can finish second in a grade 2. Okay, he's not running to his best. He's not running to the form that won him a Charlie Hall back in 2022 or won him a King George in 2022. Finished second in a Gold Cup in 2023. But he's still running okay. He's still running good races. He's just not potentially running to the top level that he used to be able to. I think some of that is they overfaced him. They ran him in races that didn't suit. They ran him back too quickly. I replied to somebody who had said words of that effect, and I said some of this is about bravado. They like, we are the best, we are the best. No, you're not. Run him in races that he can win now, rather than taking on the top class horses, the grade 1 horses. I'd love to see him take a chance in the Coral Gold Cup, formerly the Hennessy. He's not the horse he was, but he would be running a handicap. So he'd be taking on lower rated horses, not necessarily lesser rivals, but lower rated horses, because he would be giving away weight. But his form at Newbury is actually very good. He's run 3 times at Newbury. If we go through, he went here, here, and here. 3 runs at Newbury, and you can see what his performances were there. He won a novice hurdle. He won a shallow hurdle very impressively. And he won a novice's handicap chase. Okay, he was expected to win all 3. You can see he went off 8-11. He went off 8-11. And he went off 5-2. But he won them all. He's been to Newbury 3 times. He's won all 3 times. Why not go back there for the Coral Gold Cup? Yes, you're going to have to give away a lot of weight. But he could just be able to do that and allow him to actually bowl along in front. He could find that nothing's able to run past him. That's definitely where I'd be going with a brave man's game. That is, as we know, on the 30th of November. He's not going to win a King George, in my opinion. He's not going to win a Gold Cup. Go for a race that you've got some course format, and he's got 3 from 3 at Newbury. Moving on to Tor and Fright. He has dropped £1 to 125, and I don't think the step up in trip really suited him. I don't think he stays 3 mile. He's run twice over 3 mile now. At Ascot last season in the Swinley Chase, he went off 11-1 that day off a mark of 132. He finished 6th, well beaten in the end, beaten 10 lengths. He's gone again at Aintree, couldn't get involved. from the back. He jumped poorly, but he also, I don't think he stayed the trip. So what do you do with him? Drop him back in trip. He's now very well handicapped. He's dropped to a mark of 125 over fences from 150 this time last year. No, this time last year he was rated 136. He fell in the Paddy Power Gold Cup. He then finished 6th in the December Gold Cup and then finished 5th in the New Year's Chase at Cheltenham. They came off significantly higher marks though, 136, 136 and 140. Where do you go with him? Well, he's actually been to Ascot before. He finished 2nd to Favois. Now, that was not a bad performance, finishing 2nd to Favois in a handicap. He was running off 133 that day. Favois was running off 144. But he went off the 6-5 favourite. He was expected to beat Favois. Favois is still rated 145 over fences. Even if they reoppose, Tor and Fright would be running off an £8 lower mark. Favois would be running off a £1 higher mark. There was 3/4 of a length between them. Tor and Fright hasn't lost his ability that much. It's just that he's not been running in the right races. And I would like to see them go to Aintree for this 2 mile 5 race for horses rated 0 to 145. We know he can run, go to Ascot. We know he can run well at Ascot. I think the triple suit, he is now well handicapped and he is handicapped to go very close in that. That's on Friday the 22nd of November. I'm hoping that's where we see Tor and Fright next for Nigel Twiston-Davies. Moving on to Flegmatic, who has dropped £2 to 137. He's nearly there, guys. What I mean by that is he's got to have one race in their mind this season. Last season, they messed it up. They went to Kempton and they won a handicap chase worth 18 grand. In hindsight, maybe they thought, well, we won't beat Chianti Classico. Well, they did, unfortunately. And that meant the handicapper went, well, you're going to go up £3. He went up £3 from 137 to 140. He then finished 4th in this race, worth 85 grand, beaten 2.5 lengths. Take the £3 off, he probably wins. So by wasting themselves by winning an 18 grand race, they therefore couldn't win the 85 grand. It didn't then work. He finished 2nd on his next start at Kempton, beaten by Outlaw Peter, who is also a Kempton specialist. And yeah, it just went wrong, didn't it? They got it wrong by beating Chianti Classico. I actually tweeted before the race, or actually I think I wrote in my write-up, I think I went for Chianti Classico because Flegmatic will not win. But he did. Probably demonstrates again, though, that Flegmatic is very, very good at Kempton. Able to win that race of 137, beating the 142 rated Chianti Classico, who's now rated 157. So maybe Flegmatic is just very, very good at Kempton. With that in mind, you don't do anything with Flegmatic now. You wait. If you want to give him one more run, don't go to Kempton. Make sure you get him beat. Maybe go to Ascot, get him beat. Maybe go to Chepstow, get him beat. But you turn up for this Coral Trophy off 137 or lower, and I think he'll take all of the beating for a race worth 85 grand. Yes, that can be your season plan, but winning an 85 grand race, there is nothing wrong with that at all. The next I want to talk about is Percussion, who we highlighted in our video that we posted on YouTube, looking ahead to certain races, including the Grand Sefton, where we highlighted Ferro Bombo at 10s and Percussion, who was available also at 10s. You could get 12s at Bet Victor. Percussion is now available at 7s for the Grand Sefton, whilst Ferro Bombo is available at 8s. So they're both shortened slightly. I mean, Percussion looks thrown in now. I don't totally understand the way the handicap has gone about it either. After finishing 2nd last time out at Uttoxeter in the summer handicap, beaten by the 10-year-old Hang In There. Who has he done anything since? I'm just having a look. He has then finished 3rd at Uttoxeter in a handicap. He finished 2nd at Worcester, and he finished 4th in the Charlie Hall. Nothing wrong with that, to be fair. Percussion has been dropped £2 for that run, down to 127. Or he's been given his mark now of 127. He's thrown in. Well, not thrown in, but he's got a huge chance of 127. We've got to remember, he finished second in this race off an effective mark of 129. He finished second in this Sefton last year off 128, beating Ferrero Bamboo, behind the specialist, national offence specialist, Guess Kill. He's going to run a huge race on Saturday. If you haven't backed him, I kind of feel you might as well. He's going to run. He's got a provisional jockey booked. He has got Adam Wedge on board. Ferrero Bamboo's got Charlie Deutsch on board. I think both of them turn up. I think both of them go really well. At 8s and 7s, you know, there's going to be a few horses taken out of that race. They're going to shorten in their odds, aren't they? I definitely think that's where we should be going with the pair of those, Percussion and Ferrero Bamboo. And I would have no issues with backing them right now. Moving on to the next horse that caught my eye, 5-Star Getaway. Had his first run for 583 days at Aintree. Thought he ran okay and just got tired late on. Beaten 26 lengths in the end, but the handicap has been kind. He's dropped him another £3 to 115. That means before his layoff, he was rated 126. He's now £11 lower. Where do you go with him? Well, he's been to Sandown before and he finished third in the Virgin Bet Masters Handicap, beaten by Lamilos and Dacia Arbor. Now, Lamilos ended up winning a Hennessy 2 runs later, or the Coral Gold Cup. Just 2 runs later, Lamilos was winning that. So, Lamilos that day was rated 139. He is now rated 144, and he did go up to a high of 152. So, 5-Star Getaway probably ran a good race to finish third, not beaten that far by the pair of them. Off a mark of 134. He's now rated 115. What's that? £19 lower. If he turned up and you ran that race again and 5-Star Getaway was running off a £19 lower mark, he'd probably win. So go back to Sandown, find a 3-mile handicap. There is one here. It's on the 6th of December. It's for horses rated 0 to 130. It's over 3 mile. I don't see any negatives to going and winning that. I think he would win that, the race at Sandown on the 6th of December. Moving on, Kitty's Light. The handicapper has dropped him £3, don't know why. Never going to be quick enough for 3 mile. He's dropped him £4 now for being beaten 112 lengths over trips that do not suit him. He needs much further than 3 mile. He needs 3.5 mile plus. Back to 140. What does that mean? He's off the same mark as when he won here at Sandown and won here at Ayr. He won both of those races off a mark of 140. They are the Scottish National and the Bet365 Gold Cup. There is a race for him back at Ascot. I think they were just getting him used to running at Ascot. There's this race here, 3 mile 5 for horses rated 0 to 150. It's the Berkshire National, Saturday the 23rd of November. I'll be on. I think he wins that. Moving on, Walking on Air. Beginning of last season, Nicky Henderson said he was really excited by this horse. He thought he could be a very good chaser. He gave him 1 run over fences. He finished second at Newbury, beaten a neck by Henry's Friend. Nothing wrong with that, really. Just failed. It says ran on well towards finish, just failed. Henry's Friend didn't do too bad after that. He went on to win at is that Hereford? Hereford in a novice handicap chase off a £3 high mark. He then went to Ascot and won a grade 2 off 134 and ended up running in the National Hunt Challenge Cup, the grade 2. The trip probably beat him that day and he's probably not that classy, but he actually runs tomorrow in a handicap of 139 and he's going to go off, or he's currently rated, he's currently available at 9 to 2. Off a £13 higher mark than when he last ran, when he beat Walking on Air. Walking on Air, if he ran over fences, would run off a £4 lower mark. Because he made his return in a tricky race at Stratford. He pulled up in a race that maybe he just needed the run for Gary Brown. I mean, Gary Brown could potentially have a very, very nicely handicapped horse here. if there are no issues with the horse. As I said, he's been to Newbury. He's finished second behind Henry's Friend, over 2 miles 6. Well, let's go back to Newbury. There is where is it? This race here. The Peter O'Sullivan Handicap Chase, over 2 miles 6. The horse is rated 0 to 145. He gets in. It's on the 30th of November. He's had his comeback run. He should be fit. If he's going to run well, it'll be here at Newbury. If he's going to win a race, I don't see why he can't, off that mark where, he's £4 lower than when running a finishing second to a subsequent Grade 2 winner at this course. I mean, this looks obvious for Gary Brown. We'll probably see him running somewhere completely different. And finally, the last horse I want to talk about, we're going to talk about him. He's dropped £4. Don't get that. He dropped £4 for his run at Ascot, down to 131, which now means, crazily, he is, what is he? He's £5 lower than falling in this race here, the Jim Barryhurst Park Handicap Chase, worth 65 grand, when he was a length up at the last, and he fell at the last. He's £5 lower. Surely you go back there. That seems obvious. Not entered. Don't get it. Not entered for this race. He didn't win the race at Ascot in November, the race that he disappointed in this year. But he's dropped now to a mark that surely you would have been entering him in the Jim Barry. I think it's got a longer name this year. The handicap that he was going to win last year. I don't get why he's not been entered. We'll have to keep an eye out for him, because wherever he goes, he does look very well handicapped. The handicap has overreacted with that £4 drop. We've got to remember, at Ascot on Saturday, it was riding very, very fast. There was a few horses caught out by it. There was some non-runners. And even for those that like good ground, maybe it was too fast for them even. I would completely almost forgive him that run at Ascot and be keeping an eye out where he goes next. But I can't believe he's not in this race again. That's a ridiculous decision. So they are my horses to follow this year. Follow this week from the handicap analysis. Probably the most eye-catching. Brave Man's Game could well end up in that Coral Gold Cup. I'd love to see him in the handicap. Kitty's Light for that Bet365. Nope. For the Berkshire National, really like that when it steps up in trip, back off 140. And hopefully Flegmatic this season is being aimed around returning to Kempton for that lucrative handicap, rather than the race they won last year where they beat Chianti Classico.